I feel like a lot of people know what the word breath is. What
Yeah,
does breath means? In the yogic term, it's called prana. In
yeah,
Sanskrit, it's called prana. Prana means life force. Breath is life force, and it is generally taken to the breath. The breath has been said to be the remote control of the mind. So by controlling your breath, we are able to overcome any physical or emotional discomfort that arises from our practice.
yeah.
So observing the breath is also an efficient way to ground into the present moment.
So, Sue, so as you know, the pod is called Highs and Lows, right? And I felt that it's only right for me to have somebody on the pod that has seen a lot of my lows over the past 10 years. But during that process of you seeing those lows, you've been a great teacher and friend. And there's a lot of things that I've learned from you and a lot of offerings that I've also taken from you in terms of your sessions that you provide. And that is from the sound meditation, which involves gongs and also sound bowls, your rituals, which are from your ancestors that have been passed down to you and you utilize within your sessions as well. And also pranayama, which is basically breathwork, but a sexy word for it. Well, this obviously it's not a sexy word for it, but I'll let you explain what that is. But those things really, really helped me through my process. And I wanted you to come on the pod to share that with the world so they can also benefit from it as well. I also want us to touch on the Peru retreat that we had, where we went to go and visit your family. And we also stayed in the Sacred Valley where we were macrodosing a psychedelic called San Pedro, which I'll let you explain a lot more of in detail as well. So why don't we kick off with understanding what is sound meditation?
Well, sound therapy has been, practiced as healing technique to manage a wide range of afflictions, whether in the body, the mind, and also the spirit. So there are like evidence that this practice dates all the way back to ancient Greece and ancient Egypt. So, the basis of sound therapy is the understanding that all forms of matter, including cells in our physical body, vibrate at different frequencies. So, there are many things we might come in contact with in our daily lives that negatively affect our natural frequency. So, these factors may be subtle, so we may not even recognize how they are making us feel unsettled and uneasy, or even make us physically sick, right? So common ailments such as stress, disease, or depression causes cells and organs within the body to vibrate non-optical frequencies. So, therefore, sound therapy seeks to restore the physical body's natural frequency as a starting point to address all sorts of different ailments. So, you have experience at House of Asen. Our bespoke gong meditation experience offers an oasis of calm in an otherwise busy world like Singapore. And it is an everyday retreat. That's what I call it. It's an everyday retreat that is meant to strengthen your mind, boost your mood, relieve stress, and also maintain physical health. But you might wonder, what does that even work, right? I mean, I can see from your thought. I'm like, what is that? What's all this?
Well, let me just add to that. Let me compliment what you just said in that case then, right? Like I remember there was a point where I was going through a serious low. I think that was probably the first low I had experienced with you. And I was going to your sessions like 3 times a week to do gong therapy. And the biggest takeaways from me were, you're right, the vibrations do help you release, but those vibrations also help you to ground as well. So you're getting the shit, the anxiety, the stress, the worries, all of that sort of stuff comes out like naturally, but it also refreshes you. So then when you're making your next decisions, you're more stronger physically, mentally, emotionally with all of those decisions as well. So that were the biggest things from me. But I'm sure you've probably seen a lot more crazy stuff, because I remember, oh, actually, I do remember in one of your sessions, we've had people crying and people screaming and shouting, people just giggling randomly as well. So there have been a number of different things that have happened.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like during a sound healing session, the instrument, like for me, I'm like the gong resonates to me so much, right? And the gong is an extension of my energy. So the instrument enhances the meditative experience via a phenomenon called brainwave entrainment. Right. So this refers to a method of stimulating the brain into entering a specific state necessary for release, for relaxation, and also for healing. So in the case of gong meditation, the sound is changed frequently to avoid a fixed monotonous rhythm. So a pulsing sound is typically used to reach this state, but the same results can be achieved with the light or electromagnetic field. So the sound pulses, the elicit the brain frequencies following response. So encouraging the brain waves to align with frequency that is, that has a given beat, like boom, 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 or like, it has like so many sounds within the 30 minutes that you're just basically laying there. So this mechanism is useful for leading your mind into states that might otherwise be difficult to achieve, such as you go into like a trance, enhanced focus, induce sleep, or even for meditation, because the human brain is a complex network of wires connected to synapses which produce an electromagnetic field when they fire up to pass signals from one to another. So the speed in which our synapses fire up is called the brainwave frequency, and different brainwave frequencies are suited in different types of like activity. So for example, when you enter House of Asen, when you enter this space, you are already in alpha. You smell the aroma, and then I'll be there to like whiff you off with some of my ritual techniques with incense, for example.
No, but also you'd also tell me off for not washing my feet when I come in, right? That was another ritual of yours as
Yeah.
well. It's like, go into the bathroom now.
Yeah, so all these are really important, because before you start to open yourself up, you have to, you open up all these other senses, So even before coming to House of Ascent, I have people going like, I can smell you from a mile away.
It's so true. You can smell the Palo Santo burning even down the road as you're walking down to House of Ascent. It's beautiful. It's so
Exactly.
soothing.
So for me, like I'm capturing you before you even, step into the studio. So that is what we call like the alpha state. So the dominant frequency where we are feeling relaxed, like after a warm shower, or probably like during a meditation. So that is basically the frequency that I would like to give out before you even begin. And then the frequency where we start doing like the breath work, or like in deep sound meditation, the frequency, it's called the theta frequency. So this frequency happens mainly when we are drifting off to sleep, or waking up from a deep sleep, or even daydreaming. So this state occurs during like, deep meditation, even hypnosis, for example. So that's why for me, this is like a special gateway. I call it a portal. It's basically the space between time and
Yeah,
space.
brilliant.
Yeah, so that is for me, that's the most potent um frequency that I love. That's why I do what I do, is because I love that in between state where you are open, and where dreams are able to be manifested. Yeah, so that's why I love. gong therapy. That's a theta state. And then some people go into sleep deep, and they start snoring, and
Yeah, I've done that multiple times, and I've had punches from people for doing that as well. So
yeah, so that's what we call like the delta brain waves, and they're basically the slowest, and it's generated during like deep dreamless sleep. And in that 90 minutes, you could go through all these three different brainwave frequency in just that 90 minutes. When the brain is like, in delta, your body is working on healing and restoring, which is why deep sleep important for our overall health. There's so many stressed people,
yeah,
right?
yeah, no,
So
for sure. And Sue, that frequency stays with you over time as well, right? Yeah.
yes, so I would say give about 2 to 3 days.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so the aroma, the sound will be in your body. So every cell in your body is vibrating. That I would say for the next 2 to 3 days. Yeah, so you're gonna be like, oh, why am I so relaxed? Or like, oh, I just had this meeting the next day, but I feel like super relaxed, So that's the effect after a 90 minutes, or how many sessions you're gonna do that day. Some people do like back to back because they're like, oh, I don't want to get out of this state.
No, for sure. And I really like the analogy that you used to use with me as well, is that like I think it's like 80% of your body is water, right? And if you like if you do like the gong or you vibrate water, you can see the waves, change. And that's exactly what our body is doing as well, right? And that's why it holds with us. And people are going to think I'm bonkers, but I remember I used to take bottles of water to your sessions, and the water would taste different afterwards. And I would even go and compare it. I'll get like 2 bottles of Volvic, one at home and one like in your session. And they would taste different afterwards. So you definitely that's what's happening to the water bottle is exactly what's happening to us.
Exactly, exactly. Because yeah, like for example, if you just take a bottle, just a glass of water, and you pray, right? You put intentions to it, the water changes. But if you start putting like, be like, oh, I hate you, or like, bad omen into the water, then the water changes too. So the water carries like memories and vibration. Yeah. So what kind of vibration would you like? Do you want a holy water, or do you want like a
And what
murky
vibrations
water?
yeah, and what do you want to be putting into your body as well, right? Is definitely that as well.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so Sue, let's touch on that then. Let's touch on like rituals as well, because you have a number of rituals, as you just mentioned. You when you're setting up your space at House of Ascend, when you are giving us homework to do, or I say homework, where like ritual work or spiritual work or self work is actually what it is. How did this all come about, and where did you learn all of this?
So, at House of Asen, like we observe a we as in me.
Me.
Me? So I usually observe a mindful Luna practice on basically like, according to like the moon. And it doesn't have to be like a full moon or a new moon. It's basically the whole phases. So it's just like the 4 season, followed by like a cleansing ceremony. Ritual cleansing symbolizes the purification of a person's spiritual body, and it's done before or doing any spiritual work. So my grandfather taught me how to use plants like roses, jasmine, kaffir lime, for our for example, like full moon cleanse. And if I'm gonna do like a new moon, we use eucalyptus, a bouquet of eucalyptus where you whack yourself. But people ask, what are the significance of like these flowers or even plants, and why is it practiced on like a Luna calendar, right? So I'm just gonna go back to like my origins of it. So in Bahasa, it's called mandi bunga. So mandi bunga is called flower bath. And it's actually a popular cleansing ritual in Thailand, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, and then, of course, in Singapore, where it is believed to ward off bad luck. So, and then cleanse and protect the person's periphery, or what we call the aura. So the ritual carries the elements of like Hindu, Buddhism, and also Dainism. So the belief of a spirit in every human, animal, plants, living beings, written and spoken word. So this spirit is known as like mana in Polynesia, and shahala by the Batak, or like kasakitan by the Javanese, which my ancestors are from. So, and in Malay they call it also the samangat. So in Hindu belief, these plants have each a different purpose for their usage in ritual. So kaffir lime, for example, works to expel stale or stuck energy, while oval shape represents the whirl of the chakra in macronism. And my grandfather's recipe on traditional Javanese flower bath or shower, which involves 7 types of like, flowers. So it has like rose, jasmine, magnolia, ylang ylang, agave, and sometimes orchids too. So whatever that is basically natural in that habitat, we use all these flowers. And it is believed that this floral connection, combined with chanting mantras, prayers, or strongly visualized intention, will produce desired results. So after the cleansing, the petals should be collected and either released to the sea, or have a fire ceremony, or in landlocked places buried in fresh earth, for example, within 7 days of performing the ritual.
Yeah. So let's just add on that, right? So just so people understand, like essentially what you would do is you would give us a hamper, I'll call it. It was a hamper of flowers, right? Flowers and a big kaffir lime as well. And what our homework was to do, and you gave us a PDF on this as well, is to you would obviously have a shower, or if you're having a bath, just put the flowers in the bath, and then you would rub the flowers and the kaffir lime on your body to then cleanse yourself. Once you've finished your shower and your bath, you then collect those flowers and that lime. And then there's a few different things that you can do. One is digging it into earth, right? The second is burning it as well, right? And then the other one is just putting it into an ocean or into water.
Exactly. Yeah, because these are like ancient tradition meant to imbue a person's vibrational frequency, or like highly potent connection, right? So each flower or herb added to a ritual bath or shower symbolizes an intention. And for me, it's really important when you want to heal yourself, you got to know what you want to heal. So the intention is important. So then you start feeling into the body. And then we go into like feeling is healing. Yeah. So, for example, like rose petals to attract more love, for example, while mint attracts abundance. Epsom salt is sometimes added to the bath to like help stabilize mood and relieve stress. Or, a ring of crystals. Maybe, you probably you put like crystals near you, may use around the bathtub or shower according to like specific intent or purpose, and also according to the moon as well. So for example, if the moon is on Capricorn, so you do like more earthy base ritual. So maybe after you lather yourself, after your shower, you collect the petals and then you bury them to earth. And if the next moon that you're going to practice this ritual, it might be water, so then you embody like the water medicine. So maybe you want to put the water next to the window, and you allow the moon to shine through the water, and then you pray. So again, use all these ritual techniques to allow you to have like a more balanced um, energy field, because a potent opportunity to access your like human nature. And then this is when the magic happens, right? Is when you start believing it.
So yeah, so Sue, like let's get like top three rituals from you. It's an exclusive. Let us know what people can do at home.
Well, the easy part is to do at home is as soon as you wake up, you do your breath work. As easy as that. You can do lying down. For me, I love lying down too, because it's like, oh wait, I don't have to like wake up and like stretch. I'll just like simply, slow mornings for me is my jam. Like I love to attune. Yeah, of course. Why should I rush? Like okay, attune myself to my breath. How am I breathing? I want to get to know my breath. So as simple as just like breathing in through the nose, feel the belly and chest rise, and then exhaling through the mouth, go chest and the belly fall. And you do that for 5 minutes. It literally changes the frequency in the room and also how you feel as well. So whatever like, you know, expansion that you want to feel because you want to, go through the day, this breath will anchor you through the day because when you start the morning right, you don't start the morning I'm like, oh my god, when you start the morning with oh my god, then the whole day it's going to be like dreadful. But when you start the morning with like, a simple ritual just by attuning to your breath, it just changes the whole day. It just changes your brainwave frequency too. So as simple as just inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, for 5 minutes, lying down, it's great. And then you start wiggling your toes, your fingers, and you can do like your stretches, maybe in bed and stuff like that. Just by doing that, it changes the frequency of your day because you're starting it slow. And come on, 5 minutes. What's 5 minutes within 24 hours of your time or the day, right? Basically, usually you are sleeping most of the time. So what's 5 minutes?
That's good. I think also, well, sorry to interrupt on your exclusive rituals there, but I think another one that's also really good is the finger thing, right? Getting the balance within your body. I'll let you explain that more scientifically than what I've just done.
Finger thing. Well, the finger thing is called, like in yoga, we call it Nadi Shodhana. But I also call it, balancing your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. So when you can start by closing your right nostril, for example, and you inhale for 4 counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you do that for 5 minutes on like probably one nostril. And you can do that lying down too, so you don't have to do anything, just like lie down and like, use your finger. And then you do the other finger, you do the other nose. Now I'm following the finger. Yeah, it's the finger meditation. So what it does is, when people have like sinuses and stuff when they wake up, this is to actually also balance out, your right and left hemisphere of the brain, because usually a lot of people just use the left part of the brain. So this balances the two brains that we have, and also, the body. The left side is the feminine. The right side is the masculine. So to be in union with yourself is to understand the left and right, the up and down. So just by lying down, doing these two breath work, inhaling belly to the chest, it's just rising up and down. And then by doing the alternate nostril breathing, is balancing the left and also the right.
And I just want to add to that, right? But by doing that, it definitely does something, right? It definitely calms you down. It's a meditation within itself. So, you probably wake up in the morning, your alarm goes off, you've got loads of shit you need to do for that day, right? You need to get to the office, you've got emails pinging off, you've got messages from last night, you might be hungover, there's just shit going on. And I think one great thing about just doing that very small pranayama breath work in the morning for just 5-10 minutes just gets you back down again after your alarm clock's gone off, and allows you to then, as you said, Sue, set those intentions to then carry on your day.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people, you know what the word breath is. What does breath means, And in the yogic term, it's called prana. In Sanskrit, it's called prana. Prana means life force. Breath is life force, you know, and it is generally taken to the breath. The breath has been said to be the remote control of the mind. So by controlling your breath, we are able to overcome any physical or emotional discomfort that arises from our practice, right? Because breath work or anything that you do, or even yoga or like sound, it is a practice. It is a ritual. So observing the breath is also an efficient way to ground into the present moment when you're meditating, for example. So, you know, like advanced practitioners who have mastered their breath can do incredible things, such as like free diving down to remarkable depth. And I know you've done that free diving without like oxygen tanks, and, you know, learning how to regulate the body's core temperature in extreme cold. So you've done both of that, cold therapy and also, you know, like free diving.
But you're right though, because even when you're doing cold therapy, right, you're focusing on your breath to keep you calm, or sometimes even retention breath as well, to just so you
Exactly.
hold you're holding yourself through it.
Yeah. Exactly. And then restorative purposes in like, you know, pranayama or like breath work has been efficient in treating a range of stress related disorders, right? Like clearing toxins in the body, balancing hormones, and so much more. So yeah, so I would say start with breath work first is the first ritual. Before anything, it's like, how's your breath?
No, definitely.
How's your breath? Yeah, so these two are the most important. Belly, chest breathing, and then the alternate nostril breathing. Because then you know what's up, what's down, and what's the sides. How are your sides?
And it really did get me thinking, Sue, that the practice that you have, you incorporate so many different rituals, not only your own that's been passed down to you, but from others that you've seen. You've taken things from different religions also, and beliefs. So how did this all come together? Where did you even experience these different pockets to then put it all together?
Well, I started, I mean, pretty young, right? Because my family,
I didn't say you
I,
wasn't. Don't get me into trouble
yeah,
here. It's
started with like watching my grandfather during rituals every Thursday. Um, and people were like lined up to like see him, you know, because he does not only like group sessions but also one-on-one as well. And like growing up seeing that you know, that my lineage carry that essence, it got me thinking like, oh, then who am I? Right, who am I like? And um and then when my father passed away, my grandfather passed away, those gifts were initiated to my mom. And then initially my mom was like, no, I don't want this. This is not for me. I'm in oil and gas, you know, so I prefer to have this mundane thing, not this spiritual work. And then I think when my dad, you know, got sick because he had stage 4 cancer, that was probably the epiphany of my mom's spiritual work. I mean, she's always spiritual, but I think this was like a life changing experience where she had to you know, not work for oil and gas anymore and start, you know, practicing her spiritual work. So it's not until my dad had that, I mean, had colon cancer of stage 4, that's when she decided to, yeah, change her life. I mean, at that point as well, because as 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 a person who already inherits this healing essence, so she thought that she could, yeah, heal my dad or at least prolong a few of his, you know, prolong his life at least for a few years. And then she took that in. She took that stage 4 cancer to her. So then I was just a teenager, and I had both parents had cancer, you know. So that was where I had to grow up. Yeah, that's when I'm like, oh, okay. So I don't want to work in this office job, for example, because I see my dad being sick because of like he's highly stressed. And then B, my mom, not embracing her spiritual work. And she did it at a later age in her life. So basically she did it like almost to her 40s, right? So being a teenager and I'm like the eldest, I was like, ooh, who am I? What am I gonna do? And because of that, it kicked off my spiritual work. So we did more like the Buddhist meditation. So we had a seafood that taught us, not martial arts, but like, qigong and stuff like that. Learning about our energy. So I did that as like probably like preteens. But it was so strict. My mom's like, okay, we're gonna meditate as a family together, hold this crystal. Because she was into crystals as well. Hold this crystal. And like, my all my crystal caves are basically like heirlooms now because I've had them, you can see them at the back there. This one small one. They're like heirlooms since I was 12 because I started, practicing crystal and Buddhist meditation like preteens. And on top of that, because my grandfather was also like a sheikh, so he does surahs and stuff like that, every Thursday where people come and then we recite, mantras and elevate the experience and then do flower baths and stuff like that. Yeah, so we have the Islamic rituals and prayers to like the Buddhist meditation and like how to find your enlightenment or understanding, karma to dharma. And then yoga got me into it because I was like, okay, my parents are sick, I don't want to be like them. Let's cut this cord. So I started, doing yoga as like a part-time job. Yeah. And that's how it started. So I had all these three, I would say, practices of like from, spiritual work at an early age.
Yeah. No, beautiful. And I just want to add as well, you also do bring a lot of Hinduism and Sikhism into it, right? Which is obviously, I remember rocking up to your session. I was like, I'm sure I've heard this at home before. I was like, how does this girl know about this? So you incorporate so many different religions and so many different mantras into what you do, and I love it because I always feel that it's just one being, one higher being in the universe, and you can preach to it however you want. It's going to the same place. So I love the fact that you're bringing in different ways to do it, and it's so
Yeah.
insightful as well.
Yeah, because it's just through because these are my beliefs, right? And like I never go like, oh, you should be in this religion and that. For me, it's just like what you said. It's all. Maybe it's just different um intonations or different frequencies or even language. But for me, the spiritual work is the same. We're still, believing in like we come from a source where there's like in different planets or like for me all these religions or like spiritual work, it's like it comes from different planets and different planets of like different frequencies and stuff like that. And for me with all this work, it calms my body and my mind. It reduces the stress and anxiety. It allows me to focus and have clarity. So I love chanting mantras because it gives me focus. It gives me clarity. And by doing this work, it's like it decreases tension and also fatigue in the body, and it improves my sleep so that it elevates my feelings of my spiritual well-being, not just like my physical but also my spiritual well-being.
No, beautiful, beautiful. No, I think it definitely does bring that clarity, that cleansing. And as you're saying clarity and cleansing, what's coming to my mind is at the end of your sessions, we would have the fire in the back in Chongbaru in the back garden. We used to burn just all of our papers and everything there. So it's like you'd go into your session with a load of shit, basically, right? That you want to get out of your system. You write it out. You then have the session where the gong therapy is happening, the pranayama is happening, the rituals are happening, and then at the end we close off by just releasing that and burning it all, and we'd have like a little fire in the back, and everyone's singing mantras.
Because it's important to always know that rituals are important, because if you don't write it down, then everything is all in your consciousness. How do you want to manifest something if it's just stuck in your consciousness? So I believe in chakra therapy that, you got to go through the different chakras. So consciousness is your crown chakra. And then your third eye is like, for clarity is like, well, how do you see it? How do you see your dreams manifesting? And then the throat chakra is like, how do you express it? Right. And then, the the heart chakra will be like, do you actually love enough to express this to the world? Do you have a lot of like passion? And then, when you go down to the solar plexus, it's like, what is your action in manifesting this dream or thought or ideas? And then, your sacral chakra will be like, how do you co-create this? And then the last chakra will be like, it turns into matter, right? It's like, oh, okay, I'm really manifesting this. Maybe I celebrate this because now I have like, my dreams are coming true. So you gotta go through, you gotta descend. The liberating current is moving up, manifesting current is moving down. So it's from thought to matter. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure, 100%,
So
100%.
I always believe that. Yeah.
That was beautiful. That's going to be a great reel. That what you've just said. I think they can show that with each going into go looking at the body, then breaking down each chakra with what you've just said. That would be such a fantastic reel. We should definitely make note of that one. So I want to. So I know I didn't mention this to you before, but while you're speaking, I think that we should talk a bit entrepreneurial actually, because I know that I want to talk about House of Ascend, right? And I want us to go into how you rocked up, rocking up back in. I don't know if you want to talk about your journey to Peru and things like that. I don't know if you want to mention that. Maybe do that, because then it will help us talk about it when we talk about the retreat and stuff. So we can promo the retreat and
Yeah.
stuff there as well. So maybe just talk about that briefly. But the way I'll introduce it is I'll be like, look, it's Carol, Sue, I want to talk about, entrepreneurial from aspect, how that's been incorporated in your life. How did House of Sin come around and all that kind of stuff. So are you okay with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's you,
Sure.
bro. And like, that's what your baby, that's what you've built. And it's like you said, it's your practice and it's your beliefs. And I want us to talk about that because your beliefs have helped me with my life, right? And I want it to help other people as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So probably going back to like, after my dad, so after all of that happened, like my dad passed away after, my mom prolonged uh like at least like 4 years of his life. So by then I was like 18. And then we moved back to like, Singapore and stuff, because we were currently we were in Malaysia. I grew up also in Malaysia in KL. And then we moved back to Singapore, and that's how I started my yoga journey. And that's how I found all the yogic mantras, the Sanskrit, the Sikh and stuff like that, and I love that. And then shortly after working at that studio, my mom's like, "We're moving to Peru." And I was like,
The other side of the
"What?"
world. Let's let's just go there.
Exactly, the other equator, literally the other side of the world. And I was like, "What? Why?" Like, I wanna go to uni. I just got accepted to like, take my hotel management course at that time. And she's like, "No, no, no, no. Like, we're packing our bags and like moving to Peru." So prior to that, we did go to Machu Picchu. We were like tourists and stuff like that. Um it was just to help with our grief after, dad passing away and stuff like that. And then mom surviving cancer. So she had like stage 3, like breast cancer and stuff. So it was just a way of like, okay, let's go for like a family holiday to like Peru. And then that's when we met my stepfather. Back then he was basically a tour guide for Machu Picchu.
Mate, and I've met him. He's an absolute character as well.
Yeah, so he's just a mountain guy, he knows every mountain. He's also very spiritual at the same time. And that's how it started. So we basically packed our bags with like, it's just four ladies, right? Mom and like her three daughters just pack and go all the way to the other side of the world. And why she did that is because she only had 5 years to live. So after her surgery, the doctor was saying that she only had 5 years to live, so she had to basically, change her life. And that's when she, got out of oil and gas and started, her deep spiritual work. And that was like basically moving out of Singapore and just be with nature. And then out of like the nature is like we're literally in the Andes, right? Yeah, and that has helped her health basically. I mean, like it's been what 15 years now or even more, actually 18 years. And and that's when we started with being with understanding the medicine of what we do in Peru. That's how it started. And then, me being like still in my early 20s, I'm like, I don't think Peru is like for me at that
Where's the clubs at?
time. 'Cause I was just yeah, exactly. Like, you're in your 20s, very early in your 20s, you just hit your 20s and you're like, this is for retiree people,
Yeah, I'm
like
just
Peru is
surrounded
not
by
for me.
sheep and chicken and cactus. What else is
Exactly. And
there?
cows and so I told my mom, I was like, okay, I didn't go to university, like you took me out from like taking my bachelor's. I want to do something with my life. So she's like, okay, what do you want to do? I was like, okay, maybe I want to do yoga. So that's how I did that's why I went deep into yoga. So got my certification with like Hare Krishna devotees, in Peru. Did it in like one of the mountains there. It's really beautiful, nice retreat place and stuff like that. And then I was like, you know what? I need more of these. So my fire was like, I can't be here, like this can be probably, later on in my life, but in this phase of my life, I need to be challenged. So so I went back to Singapore and then I started working for a yoga basically yoga company for a couple of years, just to like, get my credentials and like people know me and stuff like that. And and then I was like, you know what? This is not enough. Like I want to do what I want to do because I just have like that drive. Like
You're a
I've
very
like
fiery
I'm
person,
such a
just to add to that as
yeah, and
well.
I learn pretty quickly too. So
Yeah.
because I'm such an observer and like, I just I get things really, really quickly. So, I learn really quickly. And then I'm, what? Maybe I want to open a yoga studio. So that's when it happened. Like I said, I had that thought when I came out from like Peru, raw energy and stuff like that, still in my consciousness. And then I went through my chakras, right? Okay, how do I manifest this? So I had a partner, and then we started opening this yoga studio, and it was just pure yoga. It was just like heart on yoga. You do it's basic from vinyasa to like hatha and like slow movements and stuff like that with aromatherapy, so pretty restorative. And then I went back to Peru again, and I was like, this is like it's not just yoga. There's something more that I want to do, in this field. It's not just like physical workout or like asana practice. It's basically the yogic life. You go through from like A all the way to Z. It's not just like physical practice. Like I really want to dive deeper into the spiritual aspect of it. And that's when the medicine came, the Wachuma, or you call it the San Pedro came. So that was like, I would say my first initiation was like back in like 2014 or 15. Yeah, that's when it started, and it blew my mind. And I was like, oh, I really want to work on like being a therapist. Like, I really want to dive deeper into understanding, people's body, their emotional intelligence, and even their behaviors and stuff like that, or like why the parts of the body feels like it has chronic pain and stuff like that. So I dive deeper into like yoga therapy. And then I opened up my own studio back in Boki, which is called Asen Yoga Therapy, because I wanted to focus more on like the chakras. So we had like 7 different types of classes, ranging from how to be grounded, how to be creative, how to focus on like your fire, for example, or like how to open up your heart, or like heal your heart space. And that's when I started diving deeper into the body work according to the chakras. And then it's like going back to Peru is like a pilgrimage for me, right? It's it's not like that one time thing. It's like you gotta always go back to like find yourself. And I'm like, oh no, it's not enough, like there's something that is missing there. So again, went back to Peru, do my yearly pilgrimage with my family, and the medicine and stuff like that. And that's when I refine who I am right now, is through that. I think the last initiation was that 2000, I would say 17 or 18. That's when I was like, House of Asen. Gotta put it House of Asen. And that's when it started with like gong therapy, rituals, like really embracing my ancestors, like medicine and stuff like that. And putting it together with my stepfathers as well. So I have a whole lot of like all these spiritual rituals that I would love to share, because it has helped me with my grief, my self-empowerment, and being who I am right now, yeah, with House of Ascend. And now living in Norway. Just
So, and again, look, I can completely vouch for the amount that it's helped people. I remember like when you opened up House of Ascend, it was booked up like weeks in advance, man. I was so pissed off. And I was like, how is this booking up so fast? What's going on? I said, like, text you separately. Can you just reserve me a mat, please? And ensure no one takes it. So, no,
yeah, it came from a lot of understanding, who I am first, before I started sharing it with others. And I never shared about like, microdosing or with the medicine, not until like probably like 2 years ago, for example. At least my deep work.
yeah, yeah. We'll touch on the macro dosing and microdosing in a moment. But what are you offering at the moment? What's kind of going on now with House of Ascend?
House of Ascend, as you know, has moved to Norway now, because that of all places. But I'm practicing what I preach. I want to be in nature, and I want to be in like maybe a slightly colder country, because I'm just, I'm so fire, right? I have so much of, so this is to like tame my fire, tame my ego, really work on like my deep spiritual awakening with nature. And I'm still integrating with it, because after moving here, like I first time mom, so I had to go through my rite of passage from a maiden to a mother, and that was like such an opening for me. And these seasonal changes, like living in Singapore, I can only say according to the moon, because we never had any seasonal change. So I can only talk about the moon, and like, how it waxes, how it wanes, what are the ebb and flows of it. But living here, I am embodying the seasons. I am embodying the change. So my wisdom has has also elevated, from House of Asen in Singapore to now House of Asen in Norway. So what I'm offering, here in Norway is much more deeper than what I offered in Singapore with just gong therapy and Luna rituals. But here in Norway, I'm doing body work for my clients and incorporate it with sound, and also have bespoke offerings where you know where I scan their body and be like, okay, let them have a chat with me first so I understand where I need to work on, in terms of like body work and also their spiritual work, and then how like the aromatherapy or all the rituals that I could prescribe them. Right? It's like a prescription, a cheat sheet, right? It's what
Yeah.
you call it. You give them a cheat sheet or like a program to dive deeper into either what's going on into their life, or whether they can have clarity, or maybe reduce stress, or maybe calm the body and mind, for example, or maybe have like a reconnection with your body and mind, because sometimes it's just about the mind and not so much of the body. So that's basically what I'm doing. It's like more of an elevated experience, and instead of doing a lot of group work, I'm moving into more like one-on-ones. And in a program where it's like minimum 3 months, for example, instead of like just your
Yeah.
weekly like dose. But I do it, okay, in 3 months, what do you wish to unravel, and then let's go slowly through the practices of movement, somatic breath work, sound, aromatherapy, and some body work and stuff like that. So that's basically what um House of Ascend Norway is offering currently. And of course the retreats that I do with the
Yeah.
Wachuma.
Let's do that. Let's dive into that then, right? The fun part. So we've mentioned Wachuma,
The
we've
fun part.
mentioned medicine, we've mentioned macrodosing, microdosing. People must be wondering like what the hell are they going on about? So I'll give my non-scientific story behind this. So essentially, the retreat that you offer, and not only the retreat, but I think just in your practice as a teacher, um, a part of it is giving and providing cactus, right, which is San Pedro, and it's a psychedelic that you can take. You can microdose it, you can macrodose it. I recommend microdosing it first. Macrodose it when you're around someone that can supervise you, like Sue and her family. Um, but it's great. Obviously, I've done the retreat. I was macrodosing it for about 6 months to a year before actually. I was microdosing it for 6 months to a year before macrodosing it. And now I'm back to microdosing it again. I think it's great. The microdosing part is very much in your subconscious mind. You don't really feel it consciously, but you do feel a change within your frequency and just what happens around you. And then I think the macro dosing is very much just purging and getting all the shit out of your body, doing your self work during that time as well. And it's also just a nice experience, man. The retreat is just so cool because not only do we get high on psychedelics and do all of your self work, but you go to Machu Picchu, you go on cool treks and stuff. Like your mum is lovely to meet your mum and your family, and you're just chilling with shamans and sheeps and chickens in the mountains, which is just wild. And like you make like a homemade, sauna called a Tabasco, which was super cool. Like food was amazing. Like it's a cool experience, man. And like I went, it was just me and like 12 women, right? Which was also really amazing
No,
from that standpoint.
yeah, Jay too.
And James also, yes. But like it did give me a sense of a new sense of respect and understanding of women also going through that process with them. But yeah, I'll let you explain more on what is San Pedro, why should people take it, and how did it come into your life as well?
All right. So the entheogen, I usually don't say psychedelic. The entheogen medicine is called Wachuma, also known as San Pedro, the grandfather. and it's an ancient entheogen cactus, and it's also one of the most sacred and wise consciousness from the Andes. So the Andes around rounding about 2,000 to 3,000 above sea level, right? So that's how high the mountains are. So inviting Wachuma into your life to work with is a big deal, even when taking smaller doses, like microdosing. So the effects of Wachuma can be profound, and this practice can positively affect your entire life. So by connecting more deeply with yourself and become more aware of the spaces within the need of healing, how you relate to or how you communicate with yourself and others, your thoughts, your patterns, your behavior, and so much more, Wachuma is ultimately a heart expansion. So it's a heart expansion entheogen medicine. So, with greater awareness comes greater opportunity to change. So, the benefits of this practice are truly immeasurable. I mean, I've never done any other, um, entheogen medicine except for this medicine. It's because it has been called to by my family from, from Peru to actually do this. So, it's not like oh, by chance or by exploration that I found this. Is actually this medicine was initiated to my family. And it is always essential to arrive at this ceremony with gratitude, with reverence, with openness, and also trust. Because gratitude and reverence for Wachuma is sacred, and the powerful support it offers on our paths of healing, growth, openness, and trust for the ceremonial ahead. So it is important to always release expectation when you begin your journey. So intention, like I always remind people, intention is significantly part of your practice, but expectation can be constricting and limiting. And I usually suggest releasing any of that you have when you come into ceremony. So trust that when working intentionally with Wachuma and committing to your practice, you will always receive exactly what you need in your journey. So, we, as in my family in Peru, source, work, grow, and brew our own Wachuma in the Sacred Valley. And we actively also give back to the indigenous and local community by honoring Mother Nature, Pachamama in our ceremonies. So, in Wachuma ceremony, you'll experience four phases. First, it's called the entry phase. Also after after you've been, like my mom will swift with the condor feather and like,
Reverse.
sacred resins. Yeah, a sacred resins of frankincense and myrrh and Palo Santo, to cleanse your auric field. So before you start, drinking, is like we have to clear this out. So the entry phase of what you might experience is you slowly delve into your journey, you'll notice like changes in your perception, your mood, and also along with heightened states of awareness. And in that state is when, sometimes you become childhood like, right? I mean, I remember you guys were like, some of you were like running around and stuff
Yeah,
like
it
that.
was. Yeah, honestly, it was like being in a zoo, but with just humans, because there were some people were dancing around and like skipping around like they were children. Some people were lying on the floor crying. Some people were just like in their zone. Some people were just like questioning life. Some people, like everyone was just all over. Some people were just hungry. Like people were just all over the place. And some people just purging, right? Like just they're just getting the shit out of their system. So it was
Exactly.
very
So that is
unique.
the Yeah, so that is the entry phase, because you know that this is such a long road as well. It's not like a couple of hours. It's like basically the whole day. So it is like very important when you come into this, like you're prepared. So that's the entry phase. And then the second phase is what we call the immersion phase. So in this phase, you start to dive deeper into the layers of self. You are immersed in like, your memories, your emotions, while gaining a deeper connection with like your mind and also your body. And that's when body work therapy is offered to guide you into your journey, deeper accessing into like, deciphering some karmic codes. So, my mom will like come and probably like give you a gentle massage, or like we start cupping you, for example, if like energy is basically stuck. And then sometimes there are like storytelling into that phase as well. So that second phase is sometimes can be a little bit daunting for some people because they start going deeper, right? um so that's when we offer the body work therapy, so that you know what's happening you know what's happening to your body, and then you go deeper into accessing some of like probably the karma that your body has inherited. So that is basically, yeah, this one I would say the immersion phase is the intense. So after everybody like, being alive, or like, people doing their thing, and then the purging begins, right? It's like the immersion.
Yeah, it's a nice high, right? It's a really, really, again, it's a nice high, like literally a high, and then you go into a low, and that low, like it's really difficult to. I haven't actually spoken about it ever. It's very difficult to talk about because it's so deep and personal within yourself, what you experience in that process, and the realizations and the shit that you see and the things that you then understand and your self work, right? Like you really get clarity on things, but it also takes you to a place where you need, again, the whole point of this pod is you need to have that low to experience the high, right? Because then you go that low, you figure out all of this stuff that you need to unravel or work you need to do on yourself to then get to that high level. And like that, this medicine lasts within your body for 3 months. And like when you said that to me, I was like, yeah, she's talking absolute shit, right? Right. That how is it going to this? I'm literally just drinking plant, right? It's not going to like, I'll just
Yeah.
pee out in the morning, I'll be completely fine. But it does stay in your body for 3 months, only until like going into this new year that I feel like normal again.
Mm.
Because your body is just going through all of your self work, going through all of that process, all of your manifestations, all the things you want to let go. Because this generational stuff, right? I don't know if people believe in this, but like there's generational stuff that's carried on within your DNA and within you as a human being, right? That you're clearing during that process as well, which I think is incredibly important. So yeah, it's powerful stuff. I know we make it sound fun and ha ha ha, but like you got to be ready for it, right? Like it's not just a place
Yeah.
where you just rock up and your life's going to get sorted out. I went into that all guns blazing suit, right? And your mum was like, "Who's this fucking guy coming in here?" I was like, "Load me up. Give me 2 cups. Give me 2 cups of this because I'm ready for this." And that was one of the biggest regrets that I made, and that put me definitely into my place and calmed me down just as a human being as well. Was because this isn't. It's not like I know it's plant medicine, but you really have to be prepared for yourself and ready
Yeah.
to understand yourself. People say, "Oh, we want to understand ourselves better," and da 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 da. Like when you get into the ring and you're fighting, like that's where you're really gonna see it. But I say this: the low is bad. Well, not bad, but the low is an experience. But you have to get through it to get to the high, right?
Exactly.
So it's all part of the journey.
Yeah. So then we go through like the third phase, right? It's called the reflection phase. So the reflection phase is like the intensity slows down a little, and you can look back at the experience with like clearer mind. And this is when you will be immersed in like somatic movements, breath work, and like sound meditation journeys, like when you're still, in that day, right? And then that's when the emergence phase is when you start you start to ground back into like your body. Sometimes I may have to like tuck you in, and you remember I had to like tuck you in
It's true.
because
You're very
sensation.
you're very very
Right.
fragile, and
Yeah.
I think what's important to also mention, Sue, here is that the medicine opens you up, right?
Yes.
So when you then we'll get high during the day. I know there's more scientific way of saying that, but essentially we'll get high during the day, do all the releases, but we're open now. We'll then do a gong therapy and mantras, etc., to then raise those vibrations higher. So you're pure essentially, right?
Yeah.
And then you're so fragile that we had to be escorted to like back to our bedrooms and stuff. So we could we'll try and get to sleep. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of, working with Wachuma, it welcomes you into the present moment. Healing happens in the present moment. When healing, the way out is through. Yeah. I mean, as simple as it is, it's like the way out is through. So in our modern world, we are very easily, like we deny things or like we try to minimize stuff or we repress or suppress our pain. But Wachuma is here to support you in moving through the pain without, drowning it in. So being consumed by it or keeping it stuck in your body. So when working intentionally with Wachuma, you always will receive the exact experience you need at that moment. So for you, you literally had like a spiritual slap of your ego, right?
100%. I did, but also I just want to add to that as well, is that, and again, people might think that we're bonkers saying this, but you got to see it to believe it, right? And all people might think it's coincidence, and maybe it is, but you definitely see things unravel in your life, right?
Yes.
People will disappear that shouldn't have been there. Your thoughts, you be from a business standpoint, there's more clarity with how we want to do things and what we want to move forward with. You just shit just gets sorted out. But it's a but that within itself, I don't know if you're going to go on to this, if this is your fourth thing, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but after this process, once you leave the retreat, that's actually the fucking hardest part.
Yes. The integration.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going to happen, and it's like,
Yeah, so that's when you gotta trust the process and remember that sometimes we must unravel, like you said, in order to be born anew. So it is a rebirth experience. So what Chuma promotes is also neuroplasticity, the growth and creation of neural connections in the brain. So this means that when you are in ceremony, Wachuma can support in creating new connection in your brain. So neuroplasticity supports you in creating new thoughts, new habits, new behaviors that are healthy, supportive, and also aligned with the life that you want to live. Right. So some benefits of like Wachuma, from the years of experience, not only for my own, but also the clients that we have is like, they start to acknowledge and feel feelings, asking to be felt as, you clear space to experience like greater peace and also joy. And then some of them have like deeper connection to self, to nature, to spirit, and also the world around you. I mean, yes, you do.
it is, yeah. Some of the experiences that, again, everyone's experience was completely different, right? Some people, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but some people like gave a spiritual birth as well.
Yes.
Some people just got all of their past out of them and just purged constantly. Some people were just full of joy and happiness, and they reformed themselves to then be that person. And some people like me just had a lot of homework to then take away and figure shit out, right? So it's so hard to talk about it because it's just so
No, but
wild.
because the specific benefits you receive will be connected to your intention, also your body, right? So, what have you gone through, in the years of like you have lived? And that's where, the evolution, when you do this healing, that's when, every experience is unique to, your soul desires, right? So like intentional setting can be like when I always emphasize this when we go in ceremony is like what is bringing you to Wachuma at this time? So where am I seeking like healing or growth? Or like what is my intention of my Wachuma experience? Or what am I hoping to receive in this experience? So these are like really important step of like intentional setting because an intention is a sign of like your thoughtfulness, your care, your respect of the journey ahead. And it's greatly support to work with Wachuma, because you can't be like, show me what it is, right? It's like, no, like your consciousness, it's multidimensional. So you got to be like specific, you know. First, you start with like probably one door, you know, and then, you know, that door can be, you know, 2 to 3 years, for example. And then when you go into another pilgrimage of like, you know, your intentional setting with Wachuma, then you can go to the other door, for example. So your intention is the main reason bringing you to Wachuma, and it will help to guide your entire experience, because that's where it anchors you. You be like, okay, what is it? You know, what is it that I want to work on?
Yeah. And Sue, I just want to add to that as well, whereby you will also check with people. You can't just sign up for this, is what I'm trying to say. Like, you will facilitate them, make sure that it is the right time for that person, because this isn't like just rocking up and doing a party drug.
No.
it's a, it's a longer process. So yeah, do you just want to talk about like how you kind of assess people to determine that?
Yeah, so I need to know whether you have like any health conditions too, you know, like, you know, if you have any heart conditions, or if you have like family who had like, you know, like depression, for example, you know, and stuff like that, because part of this intentional work with Wachua medicine includes experiencing feelings that are yearning to be felt, you know, and feelings that are present for you now, or perhaps feelings that were pushed away or fully felt, you know. So if you're not that person to, you know, to go deep into feeling and healing, then you're not ready. You know, let's say you're just going into the gym, and like you're just going to your mundane life and stuff like that. That's not who we basically. It's like you gotta already do the work, you know. And we always encourage, you know, in our ceremonies, is that any feelings that may arise during our in your journey, no matter how uncomfortable they may feel in the moment, is that you got to move through the ceremony. So you got to have resilience too, you know. You got to have mental you know, your, you know, how well is your mental health, you know, like, you know, because it is a rebirth experience. If you're not ready, then you're just going to go into like a dark wormhole of like, who am I, you know.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
no, completely true, completely true. And where do you, what's your kind of intentions with this medicine now? Where do you want to see it go, and what are you doing around that?
What are my intentions? I would say one person at a time. Like, I'm not, like, I feel like this medicine should also still be sacred, and it's not for everybody, right? It's a heart expansion medicine. So, you know, if you want to have like a brain expansion, it would be like a different, you know, entheogen, you know, or yeah, so every medicine serves its purpose. So I would say I'm not going to go like global. I feel like if you have the calling for this medicine, then listen to it, because it's not just like a physical thing, but it's also a very spiritual connection. So when you maybe cross path, you know, my with me, it's for a reason, because I'm such a deep person. I'm not a superficial. It's that Scorpio in me, right? It's like, you know, when you cross path with me, it's for a reason. It's not random, you know. It's for something bigger than, you know, probably like both of our lives, for example. So that's basically where I am right now in this phase, is to feel the ebb and flow, and continue understanding who I am in this earth, or at least in this vessel, what it needs to embrace, share, or embody.
Beautiful. No, awesome, awesome, awesome. Sue, I just want to wrap off the pod, wrap up the pod, sorry. Sue, I just want to wrap up the pod by asking you to give your story to the world, right? And I don't mean this just from a personal perspective, but from an entrepreneurial perspective, from a spiritual perspective, from a House of Ascend perspective. You know, what message would you like to give to the world based on the life that you've lived and all the things that you've experienced?
Feeling and healing. Feeling and healing, you know, because your body keeps the score. So be in your body, not just in your mind, because other parts of your body has also organs. Um, so don't don't store unwanted emotions in your body. Really listen to it, and if you can prevent it, great. Because then you can prevent from getting chronic pains, or like even going as far as like having cancer. So remember that your body keeps the score, because your heart, your stomach, your lungs, your kidneys, your liver and gallbladder, your reproductive system, they all, they are important, not just your brain. Every part of your body should be alive, should have enough oxygen flowing through every part, not just the mind, but within the body, because it tells a whole lot of story about who you are, where you've been. You don't need like an oracle to tell you. You just let your body, like tell you what it is, and there you go, more storytelling to be shared. Yeah. So always listen to your intuition.
No, beautiful. Look, Sue, thank you so much for coming on to the pod, and thank you for all the help that you give me over the years as well. I've really appreciate it.
You are most welcome. Glad to be here. Honored to be here.
Awesome. Can we practice one now? Should we just do it and just? Do you want to make it practical or not? Should we do it? I think it'd be fun, right?
You can do it. Which one do you want to do?
I don't know which one. What do you think would be the best to do? And just talk us through it like you would talk to us when we're in a session normally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, let's do the Durga Pranayama first, like the belly breathing first. All right.
Cool.
So you can choose to lie down or sit up. Now close your eyes, relax your face and body, and breathe naturally through the nose. You can place your left hand on your lower abdomen and a few inches below your belly button, and then place your right hand on the outer right edge of your rib cage. And then begin to focus your awareness on your breath as it moves in and out of your body through your nose. So every inhale, feel your body expand. And every exhale, notice that you're softening. So on your next inhalation, feel the natural lift of your belly as you expand it out, followed by the expansion of your ribs. And then slowly you exhale through the mouth, completely pressing very gently on the abdomen to expel the air. Ah. So inhale, feel just the belly expand. And then the chest. And then out through the mouth, softening the chest, softening the belly. And continue at your own pace, gradually letting this breath lead you into a more relaxation and ease. Every breath you take, you feel the expansion of your belly, and then it moves to your chest. And then with every exhalation, you feel the chest going in, and you feel the belly goes in. And each time you inhale, you feel the expansion. What do you wish to receive? You ask yourself. And then each time you exhale through the mouth, what do you wish to let go? Inhale to receive, and exhale to let go. And as you continue to do this, the other parts of the body are relaxed. The eyes are relaxed, the jaw relaxed, And when you exhale through the mouth, see if you can exhale a little bit longer than you did before. Notice your shoulders relaxing. Notice your pelvic floor muscles relaxing as you allow the jaw to relax. Because when the jaw is relaxed, so does the pelvic floor muscles. And then since you're sitting up, feel the breath grounding you down to the earth. And each time you inhale, feel the expansion also on your crown chakra opening to the sky. Knowing that you are connected or interconnected to the cosmos above you, to the earth underneath you. And then the next cycle of breath, notice the rhythm of your heart. And expand the love that you have for yourself from within to your periphery and to the room that you're in. And then you call in your name because your name has vibration. And then you take another full breath in, belly, and then the chest. And then as you sigh it out, you anchor yourself once more. And then you come back to the natural rhythm of your breath, knowing how the breath flows smoothly. And then when you're ready, you can flutter your eyes open and integrate.
Beautiful. Lovely. That was really, really good. Calmed me down again.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know what questions to ask you now. It's just, no, that was fantastic.